Do you like mysteries? To wander through the enigmatic mist of the inexplicable? Great. I'm Merc, and here you'll find what you're looking for. Welcome to my domains. The truth dissolves into the mist.
Somewhere beneath the burning sands of Giza, more than a kilometer below the iconic pyramids, there may be a city that history forgot. Not a tomb, not a temple, but a vast subterranean complex that could dwarf everything above it. In March 2025, a team of Italian researchers dropped a bombshell that sent shockwaves through the world of archaeology. Using radar pulses, they claimed to have found what they call a vast underground city, hidden more than 1,200 meters beneath the Pyramid of Khafre. That is nearly 4 times the height of the Great Pyramid itself. Think about that for a moment. Everything you have ever been taught about ancient Egypt, everything you have seen in documentaries, every museum exhibit you have walked through, it all sits on top of something infinitely larger and infinitely stranger. The Italian team, led by researchers from the University of Pisa and the Polytechnic University of Milan, did not stumble upon this by accident. They spent years developing a new generation of radar technology, one capable of penetrating far deeper than conventional ground-penetrating radar. And what they found, they say, is not just a few chambers or tunnels. It is a city, 10 times larger than the pyramids above it. You have probably seen the headlines by now, the viral videos, the whispered theories on obscure forums. But here is what most outlets are not telling you. The mainstream archaeological community has not embraced this discovery. In fact, they have done the opposite. They have called it non-scientific, unsubstantiated. Some have even called it a hoax. But why such a strong reaction? Why would any archaeologist, any scientist, reject the possibility of the greatest find in human history without even taking a closer look? That is the question you need to hold in your mind as we go deeper, because the answer may be more disturbing than the discovery itself. Let us go back to the data. The radar scans reportedly reveal structures at multiple levels, descending in what the researchers describe as a spiral pattern. These are not natural geological formations. To radar, signatures show sharp angles, right angles, hollow spaces with uniform walls, and what appears to be an intricate network of passageways connecting dozens of chambers. Some of these chambers are enormous, large enough to contain entire buildings from the surface. And at the very bottom, more than a kilometer down, there is something else, something the researchers have only hinted at in their preliminary reports. They call it the platform, a massive, flat geometric structure that does not resemble any known geological layer. Sir, if you are feeling uneasy right now, you should be, because if this is real, it does not just rewrite the history of ancient Egypt. It rewrites everything we know about human civilization itself. The official timeline tells us that the pyramids were built around 4,500 years ago as tombs for pharaohs. But a city buried more than a kilometer deep would require technology and organization that we do not associate with the Bronze Age. How do you move millions of tons of rock to build a city that no one on the surface ever sees? How do you light it? How do you ventilate it? These are not questions that fit comfortably into any textbook, and that is precisely why the resistance has been so fierce. In July 2025, just 4 months after the initial announcement, the Italian team released a second set of findings. This time, they identified something even more specific: a vertical shaft of gigantic proportions directly connected to chambers located beneath the Sphinx. The Sphinx, that silent, weathered guardian that has watched over Giza for millennia. According to the radar data, the shaft descends almost perfectly straight, with smooth walls that show no signs of natural erosion. At the bottom of this shaft, the radar detected a large hall, and from that hall, multiple passages branch out in different directions. One of those passages, the researchers claim, leads directly toward the area beneath the Pyramid of Kafir. You are beginning to see the scale of this now. Not isolated anomalies, not random caves, a connected system, a true underground complex linking the Sphinx to the pyramids and beyond. The researchers have even given it a name in their internal documents. They call it the Kafir complex, and they believe it extends far beyond the current excavation limits of the Giza plateau. Now, here is where the story takes an even stranger turn. The Italian team has been trying for months to obtain permission from Egyptian authorities to conduct a non-invasive verification, using drills no wider than a few centimeters to insert cameras and sensors into the ground above the supposed structures. But that permission has not come. Officially, the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities has stated that the claims lack scientific evidence and that no excavation will be authorized until independent verification is performed. But the Italian team says they cannot perform independent verification without access. You see the paradox. It is a perfect loop of denial. And while that loop remains unbroken, whatever lies beneath Giza stays exactly where it has been for thousands of years, hidden, silent, waiting. Let me ask you something directly. If you were a scientist and you believed you had found the greatest archaeological site in history, would you simply walk away? Or would you keep pushing, keep scanning, keep refining your data until the world had no choice but to listen? That is exactly what the Italian team is doing. They are not waiting for permission to dig. They are waiting for permission to prove. And while they wait, they have released more details about what their radar actually saw. Because this is not just about chambers and tunnels. It is about depth. 1,200 meters is not a basement. It is not a crypt. At that depth, the temperature rises. The pressure changes. The geology becomes something most people never think about. And yet, the radar shows empty spaces. Large empty spaces. Geometrically regular empty spaces. Natural caves do not look like that. Natural caves are chaotic, irregular. They follow the random fractures of rock. But these structures show symmetry. They show design. Someone, or something, carved them, and that someone did so at a depth where modern humans would struggle to survive without advanced life support. So who were they? That is the question no one in mainstream archaeology wants to answer out loud, because the answers do not fit the timeline. They do not fit the story we have told ourselves about who we are and where we came from. Some have suggested that these structures could be much older than the pyramids themselves, perhaps thousands of years older, perhaps tens of thousands. If that is true, then the pyramids were not built in isolation, till built on top of something. Something that was already ancient when the first pharaoh took the throne. Think about what that means. The Sphinx, with its eroded body and mysterious origins, may not just be a statue. It may be a marker, a signpost pointing down. The vertical shaft beneath it may not be a later addition. It may be the original entrance to a world we have never seen. The Italian researchers have been careful not to use sensational language in their official papers, but in interviews, some of them have slipped. One of them, speaking anonymously to a European journal, said this: "What we see below Giza is not a tomb, it is a city. And cities are not built by ghosts, they are built by people, or something very much like people. So where are those people now? What happened to the civilization that carved the city out of solid rock a kilometer beneath the desert? Did they leave? Did they die out? Or are they still there?" That last question is the one that haunts this entire discovery. Because the radar pulses that found these structures cannot tell the difference between a room and a coffin. They cannot tell you if a chamber is empty or occupied. They can only tell you that something is there. And something is definitely there. By now, you have probably realized that this story is far from over. The Italian team continues to refine their data. They continue to push for permission, and they continue to release new findings in small, controlled bursts. Each new release is met with the same reaction from the establishment: dismissal, skepticism, silence. But the viral spread of this story has not stopped. Millions of people around the world are now watching Giza with new eyes. And that is exactly what the mainstream archaeological community fears most. Not the data, not the discovery, the possibility that they might be wrong. Let us pause here for a moment and look at what we know so far. We have a team of researchers with advanced radar technology claiming to have found a massive underground city beneath the Pyramids of Giza. We have a vertical shaft beneath the Sphinx connecting to chambers below. We have a depth of more than 1,200 meters, far beyond any known archaeological excavation in Egypt. We have geometric structures that do not occur naturally. We have a complete refusal from Egyptian authorities to allow verification. And we have a mainstream archaeological community that has dismissed the entire thing without ever looking at the raw data. Something does not add up. Either the Italian team is perpetrating the most elaborate archaeological hoax in modern history, or they have stumbled onto something so profound that the established order cannot process it. There is no middle ground here. And that is what makes this story so dangerous. Because if the Italian team is right, every textbook, every documentary, every museum exhibit about ancient Egypt will have to be rewritten, not updated, rewritten from scratch. And that is not something that happens quietly. That is not something that happens without a fight. So the question is not just what lies beneath Giza. The question is why so many people seem desperate to keep it buried. Let us go deeper. Because the surface level of this story, the headlines and the viral clips, they only show you the tip of something much larger. In the months since the initial announcement, the Italian research team has released additional radar data that most major news outlets have completely ignored. And that data points to something even more extraordinary than a simple underground city. According to their latest analysis, the structures beneath Giza are not randomly arranged. They follow a precise geometric pattern that aligns with the positions of the pyramids above. In other words, the pyramids may not be the main event. They may be markers, surface indicators of a much larger design hidden below. The researchers have identified what they call resonant cavities, chambers whose dimensions appear to have been calculated to produce specific acoustic properties. You read that correctly, acoustic properties. Some of these chambers, according to the radar reflections, are shaped in ways that would amplify certain frequencies of sound. Why would anyone build acoustic chambers a kilometer underground? That is not a question for archaeologists. That is a question for physicists, for engineers, for people who study energy and vibration and the hidden properties of matter. The Italian team has not offered an explanation. They have simply published the data and let the world draw its own conclusions. And the world, at least the part of the world that is paying attention, is drawing some very uncomfortable conclusions. One of the most controversial aspects of this discovery involves the so-called water channels. The radar scans show a network of narrow passages that appear to have been designed to carry water. Not groundwater seepage, not natural aquifers. Engineered channels with consistent gradients, smooth walls, and what appear to be control points where flow could be regulated. If these channels ever carried water, and if they are connected to the deeper chambers, then whoever built this city had a mastery of hydrology that we do not associate with any ancient civilization. We are talking about moving water more than a kilometer below ground, through solid rock, using techniques that would challenge modern engineers. And yet, there it is. According to the radar, plain as day, gear, or as plain as radar reflections can be. Now, let us talk about the resistance again, because it deserves more than a passing mention. You have probably seen the quotes from mainstream archaeologists. They call the Italian team irresponsible. They call the claims sensationalist. They point out that ground-penetrating radar has produced false positives before. And all of that is true. Radar is not magic. It can be misinterpreted. Anomalies can turn out to be natural fractures or mineral deposits. But here is what the critics are not saying. The Italian team did not use conventional ground-penetrating radar. They used a new generation of tomographic radar that creates three-dimensional images by combining multiple frequencies and multiple angles of transmission. This is the same technology used to map geological structures for oil exploration. It is precise, it is tested, and it has been verified on known archaeological sites before being deployed at Giza. In other words, this is not some guy with a plastic box and a dream. This is a serious scientific team using serious scientific equipment. And they are being treated like conspiracy theorists. Why, one possible answer is that the mainstream archaeological community has been burned before. There have been countless claims of hidden chambers beneath the pyramids over the years. Almost all of them turned out to be wrong. But this is different. The scale alone makes it different. A city 10 times larger than the pyramids is not a hidden chamber. It is not a secret tunnel. It is a paradigm shift. And paradigm shifts are never welcomed by the people who built their careers on the old paradigm. That is human nature. It is not conspiracy. It is not malice. It is simply the way institutions protect themselves. But institutions can be wrong. And sometimes the person outside the institution, the one with no reputation to protect, is the one who sees the truth first. The Italian team is asking for one simple thing. Let us drill a small hole. Let us send down a camera. Let us look. If nothing is there, we will admit we were wrong. We will pack up and leave, and the world will move on. But if something is there, everything changes. Why would anyone refuse that request? That is the question that hangs over this entire story like a shadow, and it is the question that has turned a scientific debate into a global mystery. Let us consider another possibility for a moment. What if the Egyptian authorities are not refusing out of skepticism? What if they already know something? Egypt has controlled access to the Giza plateau for decades. They have conducted their own surveys, their own radar scans, their own geological studies. Is it possible that they have known about these deep structures all along? And if they have known, why would they keep it secret? There are practical reasons, of course. A discovery of this magnitude would overwhelm the site. Thousands of researchers, journalists, and tourists would descend on Giza. The logistics would be a nightmare. But there are also political reasons. Egyptian archaeology is a source of national pride. The pyramids are the crown jewel of that pride. If it turns out that the pyramids were not built by the ancient Egyptians as we understand them, if they were built on top of something older and stranger, that narrative becomes complicated. Not false, necessarily, but complicated. And complicated narratives do not fit neatly into tourism brochures. So perhaps the silence from Cairo is not denial. Perhaps it is hesitation. The kind of hesitation you feel before opening a door that you are not sure you can close again. The Italian team has not given up. They have submitted new requests for verification. They have offered to bring in international observers. They have even offered to let Egyptian archaeologists lead the verification process themselves. So far, no response. But the team has also hinted at something else. They say that the radar data shows signs of what they call structural fatigue in some of the deeper chambers. In plain English, parts of this underground city may be collapsing. If that is true, then time is not on anyone's side. Every month of delay could mean the loss of information that has been buried for thousands of years, and that loss would be irreversible. Think about that. Whatever is down there, whether it is a city or a natural formation or something in between, it will not wait forever. The sands above it shift. The rock around it settles. The pressure of the earth compresses and cracks and destroys. If we do not look now, we may never get another chance. And yet we wait. The official response from the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, issued in late August 2025, was brief. It stated that no credible evidence had been presented and that the ministry would not authorize any invasive procedures based on unverified radar data. The statement did not mention that the ministry had also refused to allow non-invasive verification. It did not mention that the Italian team had offered to share all data with Egyptian researchers. It simply closed the door, and for now, that door remains closed. But doors have a way of opening when enough people push, and the viral spread of this story has turned into a push that the archaeological establishment did not expect. Millions of people are now asking the same questions. Why not look? What are they afraid of? What is down there? Those questions are not going away. They are spreading, they are growing, and they are beginning to attract attention from outside the world of archaeology. Geologists have started to examine the radar data independently. Engineers have begun to analyze the structural implications. Historians have started to re-examine ancient texts for any mention of underground cities beneath the pyramids, and some of those historians have found something interesting. In certain Coptic and Arabic texts, there are references to hidden chambers beneath Giza, chambers that contain ancient knowledge, strange machines, and even the bodies of beings who were not entirely human. For centuries, these texts were dismissed as legend, as myth, as the fever dreams of medieval mystics. But now, with radar showing structures at depths no medieval writer could have known about, those legends look different. They look like memory. Distorted, fragmented, but memory nonetheless. Someone knew, and that someone wrote it down. And now that writing is being read with new eyes, let me ask you something before we reach the end. If you had the chance to look beneath the pyramids, to see with your own eyes what the radar claims to have found, would you take it? Or would you prefer not to know? Because that is the real choice we face as a culture, not whether the city exists. That question will be answered eventually, one way or another. The real question is whether we have the courage to look, and whether we are ready for what we might find. The Italian team believes they are ready. They believe the world is ready, and they continue to push, to scan, to refine, to wait. But patience has its limits. And if permission continues to be denied, do not be surprised if someone, somewhere, decides to take matters into their own hands, because secrets this large do not stay buried forever. They leak, they surface, they find their way into the light. And when that happens, the only question that will remain is this: what took us so long to look? The Pyramids of Giza have stood for over 4,000 years. They have survived earthquakes, invasions, looters, tourists, and time itself, but they have never been truly seen. Not from below, not from the inside of the city that may lie beneath them. That city, if it exists, has been waiting in silence while empires rose and fell, while religions were born and died, while humans reached for the stars. And now, for the first time, we have the technology to see it, to map it, to understand it, or to ignore it and walk away. The choice is not the Italian team's alone. It is yours. It is mine. It is every person who has ever looked at the pyramids and wondered what secrets they might be hiding. Because secrets are not secrets forever, and the deepest darkness always gives way to light, whether we are ready or not. The story of the underground city beneath Giza is not over. In fact, it may have barely begun. The radar scans continue. The requests continue. The silence from Cairo continues. But silence is not an answer. It is just a longer question. And questions have a way of being answered eventually. Comes when that answer comes. When the first camera descends through that vertical shaft beneath the Sphinx, when the first light touches walls that have not seen illumination for thousands of years, the world will stop and watch, and nothing will ever be the same. Until then, we wait, we watch, and we wonder, what is really down there? And why does no one want us to find out?
Did you like this mystery? And what is your theory? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed it, then like and share. I'm Merc, and I'll be waiting for you in the next mystery.